if you're thinking of moving to Southwest Florida, you should watch this video because in it I'm going to be talking about the traffic nightmare that we've all been experiencing. So one of the things to realize is Florida has had a population boom seen recently with everything that has gone on in our country, not to mention our climate that's down here. So your major cities, those nightmare traffics are quite common. Now here in Southwest Florida, we're a little bit smaller than areas like Tampa and Miami, but we are definitely seeing it. And a lot of that is the infrastructure just isn't there yet. The major roadways, east, west, north, south, we're very limited on them. And if you live in an area that I'm at in Cape Coral, there's 3 bridges that will get us to Fort Myers if that's where you commute, and everyone's on those bridges, right? So those are something to keep in mind that it's going to affect traffic. So when's peak time? Our peak time that we typically see is between like 7 and 9 a.m. Those gridlock hours you're hitting, and in the afternoon time from that 4 to 6 p.m. Now that's if you're hitting the bridges between Cape Coral and Fort Myers. Now, if you live in Fort Myers and commute to Cape, you're probably not hitting that traffic so much. So you can leave earlier or just plan on that longer delay for stuff. But it's all stuff to keep in mind when you're coming down here. One of the biggest issues with that is public transportation isn't as well built out. Where I came from, the southwest suburbs of Chicago, we used to take the train from where we lived into downtown. There's no real train system down here. I know they're working on one for some of the major cities, but that adds 2 cars on the street. The bus system is around. It's not as popular as maybe other areas because this is still a driving community. It's not really built for commuters. Maybe if you live in the downtown area, it is, but there's limited housing down there, and most people have single family homes enough distance away that they're going to be using a car. It's quite common, and it's not unaffordable to have a car down here as opposed to some major cities where you see stuff like that. We also have a tourism impact, right? We call them snowbirds. They come down in the wintertime because our winters are gorgeous and they leave that cold climate that's up north. It's more people on the streets, more people using the hospital system, more people using the 911 system. So it is an impact that we see. I have seen over the years is it's not as big of an impact because a lot of people just decide to stay, and now they're living here full time. But when you have that influx, that current infrastructure can't handle it as well, so it's going to cause delays, longer waits at restaurants, all those items because the population just increased, right? And it's not normally that way. So you got to plan on the differences. Something we do is we'll go out during the week. Weekends, forget about it. We'll stay home. I don't want to deal with all that. Something else is when there is a hurricane evacuation. Now, this tends not to be during the snowbird season, but there are major routes that are routed that way. So that's something that is a traffic impact, though. I know one of the hurricanes, my wife took our daughter, and she was pregnant with our son at the time, and they went north of here. I had to stay for work, and it was bumper to bumper traffic because you have everyone exiting on the same major highways or roadways. So that's something to plan for, that if there is some type of scheduled impact that we know is going to happen, leave earlier or plan on those delays, have other options. When we built our home, we made sure we had hurricane impact windows and our elevation was pretty high. So we had damage during the last hurricane. We did not have flooding and we did not have structural damage. The biggest was our pool cage and our roof, losing shingles. Otherwise, the roof stayed intact for us. So we were very fortunate compared to some people. So these are all things to consider. Traffic can be a nightmare, but if you plan around it, it's definitely something that is not that big of a deal. But if that's be prepared for it. There's been times we didn't plan our day correctly, and we sat in a lot of extra traffic, and we're late for appointments because didn't plan on it, right? So that being said, if you're planning on moving in 9 days or 90 days, do me a favor, shoot me a text, book a phone call, and jump on a Zoom call with me because I'd love to show you around town.